say the name Emily Dickinson in a crowded room, 90% of the people in that room will probably think either of someone wearing a white dress or of someone in a graveyard writing about death, right? This is the most dominant image we have of her as a poet who was obsessed with death. This is only partly true, right? If you read her poems, you can't deny that there are a ton of poems about death, whether it's sickness and dying or death throes, right? The deathbed scene, to laying out bodies, to going to the cemetery and actually being, at the sod, thinking about the figure who's underneath it. She occasionally even steps inside the body of the dying and writes as if she is dying. So it's obviously a preoccupation in her poetry. There's no denying it. And one can hardly blame her, right? She actually lived 15 very formative years of her life with her window overlooking a graveyard, so the subject was constantly on her mind. You could also say, isn't it constantly on all of our minds, right? She knew that death was this fundamental fact of life, and so she wanted to figure out how to deal with it. We call that existential reckoning, right? She needed to reckon with this question so that she could use her time on Earth while she was alive as best she could. And so this constant preoccupation in her poetry, I like to see it not so much as this morbid, obsessive curiosity about, right, staring at the skull, so much as this memento mori in the traditional sense, right? Remember that you will die, and by remembering that you die, you learn how to live. So she has this very famous phrase, "Life is death we're lengthy at," which feels very sad. But the rest of the phrase is, "Death, but the hinge to life." And she means that, I think, in two senses, both that by thinking about death, by understanding death, by reckoning with death while alive, you learn how to truly live. But she also had this deep and pervasive and potent hope in immortality, that death was not the end. Death is but the hinge to life.